Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers finished last season 11-5. Obviously, their season came down to that game against the Browns when they got absolutely clocked, cut rock. It was a hard watch. It was a great watch if you're from the Cleveland area code and have just seen the Steelers just ruin your season time after time after time. But for the Steelers, they had that, 11-0 start last year, if I'm not mistaken. 11-0, and then it all came crashing back down to earth. I think one of the biggest reasons for that, no running game at all. Well, guess what? This year, we're going to go pick up Najee Harris. We're going to fix that running game. We're also going to take away the offensive line, so that's another story following them. But the grand scheme of things, the sum of all these parts, I have the Steelers finishing 9-8. Mike Tomlin, congratulations. You go another year with your record above 500. And that is, I think, one of the most impressive coaching stats out there.
Yeah, that's fair. So I do have them performing a bit better. I do have them at 11-6. So they finished 11-5. I think they're going to rack up one more loss this year. But to me, when I see the Pittsburgh Steelers, they kind of just seem like sort of the same team, but with a better running back. So last season, they finished overall PFF grade number 28 in overall offense, which you'd think that they would have, finished better considering their record, but they were pretty dismal on offense. They were very lackluster, I think, in a lot of ways, but they were number 2 in defense, and they are pretty much bringing back more or less the same defense. So again, this division is very defensive heavy in a sense, where I think these defenses are going to beat each other up, but Pittsburgh's offense should get better. The thing that you mentioned about Ben Roethlisberger and wanting to move him up in terms of his tiers, the one thing about a guy like Ben Roethlisberger is he's played so many seasons that if you just extrapolate all of his numbers, you'll get a pretty decent sense for what kind of season he's going to have. And that's pretty much like what he had last year. So, when it comes to ranking guys like Deontay Johnson, Juju, and Chase Claypool, like Deontay Johnson had 144 targets, Juju had 128, and Claypool had 109 as a rookie. So I don't see like anything really changing from like an offensive production standpoint. Like they were 9th in air yards, number 3 in deep targets. Like overall, like the team was like barely good on offense, but like they just couldn't put it together on the run game, which is why they ultimately kind of, to your point, didn't perform very well. So yeah, I just don't think they're going to change very much. Like they seem like a very static team. Like I don't think they had that many improvements other than drafting Najee Harris, which will be enough to like get them back to an 11-win season.
Yeah, and then, too, you also have to consider losses on the defensive side. They did lose Bud Dupree, which I do think is a loss that will hurt them. Devin Bush coming back off a major knee injury as well. So both those are going to be stories to follow on the defensive side of the ball when it comes to the Steelers. Going to the fantasy angle of things, so certainly we mentioned that there are 3 wide receivers in that locker room, all vying for targets. It is one of those volume-based plays. How much opportunity these guys have is enough to sustain the value of them. We talk about, could the Bengals offense have 3 wide receivers, all fantasy relevant? For the Steelers, it's very possible given what the numbers were last year. And I think the added threat of having Najee Harris actually is a good thing for the team as these guys look for their opportunity to shine this year in fantasy.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like it all comes down to volume, and this team has historically had a relatively good offense. It's kind of high powered and really north to south, obviously led by at the time Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. Now they have Najee Harris in there, but they still have some studs with Juju and Claypool and Deontay Johnson. I know he had a bit of a dropsy situation last year, but I think those are very easily corrected. Like the team last year was 12th in plays run. They led the entire NFL in pass attempts. They were 7th in passing touchdowns. Like I just think overall, like they're going to continue to have like they're going to continue to be in the upper half of most passing type statistics, and obviously the 3, Johnson, Juju, and Claypool, are going to be the beneficiaries of that type of work. So yeah, I don't think that's going to end up changing all that much. Again, I just don't see this team changing all that much. I think they're going to continue to be the Pittsburgh Steelers that we're used to watching, and they're in a tough division, so they'll definitely rack up some losses, but for the most part, they'll beat up on easy teams like they did last season.
And is Najee going to be the number 1 running back out of this rookie class, do you think? Obviously, there's been some names that have been kind of floated around and every now and then we do see some guy from the 3rd round or later come out and just kind of steal the crown from the number 1 overall drafted rookie running back. But this is the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is why they drafted him, right? You would figure they're going to give this guy opportunity. Najee Harris, do you believe in his current value in ADP?
Yeah, I mean, again, a lot of times a good friend of ours on another podcast, Sky Guasco over the TCK podcast, he always has kind of this saying like, I like the player and I hate the environment, or I hate the environment and I like the player. I think Najee Harris is like, I like the player and I love the environment. It's like we've seen an RB1 come out of this type of offense in Le'Veon Bell, and Najee Harris. I don't think he'll be the overall running back one, just given the amount of talent inside of the top 10 for running backs. But he can definitely crack top 10 with that type of work. I mean, if he gets a lot of the passing volume that Le'Veon used to see, he gets all the goal line work that we're kind of used to seeing, a top tier running back get. Like, there's no question that he can make an absolute mark this year. The environment's there for him.